The morning after my husband's funeral, I stood in the bathroom and couldn't figure out how to turn on the shower. 38 years married, and I didn't know how to be alone in my own house. I was a nurse for 31 years. I knew how to keep people alive. I knew how to stay calm when a monitor started screaming at me. None of that prepared me for how quiet the house got after Robert died. It was fast. Heart attack in the garage on a Tuesday while I was at work saving somebody else's husband. I've replayed that day more times than I can count. What if I'd been home? What if I'd left 10 minutes earlier? The guilt sat on my chest like something physical, something I carried into every room of that house. We had a plan, actually. Retire at 65, sell the house in Ohio, get something small near water because Robert always said the ocean fixed things. Instead, I turned 66 alone in a house still full of his clothes I couldn't bring myself to give away. His reading glasses were still on the nightstand for 8 months. I'd walk past them every night, and every night I'd think, tomorrow I'll pack those up. I never did. My daughter called every Sunday, worried sick. My friends stopped calling as much. Grief makes people uncomfortable, and after a year they kind of expect you to be over it. I wasn't over it. I was just going through the motions. I'd make coffee for 2 out of habit and then cry when I saw the second cup sitting there. Some mornings I'd pour it down the sink without ever touching it. I stopped going to church where Robert and I had gone every Sunday for 20 years. Too many people asking how I was doing, too many casseroles left on the porch. I stopped going to the grocery store we always shopped at together and started driving 20 minutes further to one where nobody knew me, where nobody would ask. It was my daughter who found the listing. A little casita near Ochochal on the Pacific side of Costa Rica. She didn't send it thinking I'd actually move. She remembered Robert talking about retiring near water and figured I'd want to look at it and maybe cry a little, the way you do with old photos. I stared at that listing for 3 months. I'd open it on my laptop some nights, look at the photos of the porch, the hammock, the trees, and then close it again. I told myself it was a fantasy, the kind of thing you look at instead of dealing with your actual life. Then one night I couldn't sleep, and I did something I hadn't done since Robert died. I made a decision without asking myself what he'd think. I put a deposit down on a one-way ticket. Everyone thought I was losing it. Maybe I was. 66, widowed, moving alone to a country where I didn't speak a word of the language, 6,000 miles from my grandkids. My son-in-law flat out asked if I'd lost my mind. My sister told me I was running away instead of dealing with my grief. Maybe she was right too. I told them both I'd already lost the one thing that mattered, so what exactly did I have left to lose? Packing up the house took me 5 weeks. I gave most of it away. Furniture, dishes, 38 years of accumulated life. I kept a box of photos, Robert's watch, and that one shirt I still couldn't part with. When the moving truck pulled away with everything I wasn't keeping, I sat down on the empty living room floor and cried harder than I had since the funeral. It felt like burying him a second time. The first few weeks in Costa Rica were rough, but not in the way I expected. It wasn't grief so much as pure fear. I couldn't figure out how to open a bank account in Spanish. My internet didn't work for the first 10 days, and I had no way to call my daughter. I got lost driving to the grocery store and ended up crying on the side of the road for 20 minutes before a stranger stopped, used hand gestures, the 10 English words he had, whatever it took to help me. His name was Mario. He drove ahead of me the rest of the way just to make sure I actually got there. That was the first time in over a year someone had taken care of me instead of the other way around. I sat in my car outside that grocery store for a long time after he drove off, just thinking about that. My casita was maybe 200 meters from the beach. Every morning I'd walk down and just watch the waves. Robert's voice kept coming back. The ocean fixes things, and I didn't believe him yet. I just stood there, ankle deep, watching, most mornings not even sure why I bothered getting up. There were bad days, too, weeks in. A night the power went out during a storm and I sat alone in the dark, genuinely scared, wondering if I'd made the worst decision of my life. I called my daughter crying, telling her maybe I should just come home. She listened. She didn't tell me what to do. She just said, "Give it 3 more months, and if you still feel this way, come home." I hung on to that. Then a neighbor, a retired teacher from Vancouver named Diane, invited me to swim with a group of women at 7 every morning. I almost said no. I hadn't been in the water in 15 years. Robert was the swimmer in the family. I was the one on the shore holding the towel. I said yes anyway. Honestly, I'm still not sure why. Diane didn't really give me room to say no. She just said 7 o'clock, "We'll wait for you," and walked off before I could talk myself out of it. The water was colder than I expected. My arms remembered the motion before my head did. About 20 meters in, I stopped, treading water, and started crying. Not sad tears this time. For the first time in over a year, my body was doing something for itself, not for Robert, not for a patient, not for my kids checking in on me, just me, moving through the water, alive. Diane didn't ask what was wrong. She just swam next to me until I was ready to keep going. That became my mornings. 7 o'clock, 5 women, the Pacific. Some days we talked, most days we didn't need to. Turned out 2 of the others were widows, too. Another had left an unhappy marriage at 60. One had lost a son years earlier and never talked about it, but you could see it in how gently she treated the rest of us. None of us planned to end up on this beach, and none of us could imagine leaving now. 6 months in, I finally donated Robert's clothes. Not because I'd forgotten him, because I finally had room, in the house and in myself, for something new. I kept one shirt. Still wear it on the beach sometimes, in the evenings, when I miss him the way you miss someone you loved, right? A year in, my daughter and grandkids visited for the first time. I watched my granddaughter run into the same water I swim in every morning, shrieking with laughter, and I thought about how none of this existed for me 2 years ago. Not this beach, not Diane, not any of it. My daughter told me before she left that this was the first time in 2 years she'd seen me look like myself again. I think about that first morning in the bathroom a lot, the one where I couldn't remember how to work the shower. I understand now grief isn't something you get over, it's something you learn to carry differently. Mine got lighter every time I let the water hold some of the weight for me. I still reach for that second coffee cup out of habit some mornings, but now, more often than not, I carry it down to the beach and drink it watching the sunrise with Diane right before we swim. Robert was right, in a way. The ocean didn't fix anything, but it gave me a place to slowly put myself back together one morning, one stroke, at a time,